Hi, I'm Lisa Zabaniak from Life Like You Mean It, and today we're going to be talking about what it means to be a priestess of the goddess. This video will be in three short segments. Part one, we are going to talk about the goddess versus god. Is it really one versus the other? Part two, we are going to talk about priestess ceremonies. And part three, we are going to talk about practical applications of being a priestess of the goddess in everyday life. So let's get started. So, part one, we start with talking about goddess versus god. Is it one over the other? If you have not already watched my video on divine femininity, then please stop right here and go ahead and check that video out because that's going to explain a lot of stuff that's going to help you in this video. Right. So, goddess versus god. Now that you've seen that other video, you know that what I'm really talking about here is the polarity of one energy, that there is only one energy. And that energy runs through all of us in every single atom, in every single particle, everywhere in this universe. We have energy. And that energy cannot be cannot be created or destroyed, but can be transferred. And so we're just transferring it from one type to another. And that energy would have a source point. That source, which some people call God, some people call, different names, right? Universal energy, point energy, whatever. That is what I'm referring to when I talk about the goddess or I talk about God. There is a polarity, a masculine side and a feminine side. These aren't two separate people necessarily, but they are two separate aspects of the same energy. So, in this way, we do not have to have one win out over the other. We don't have to be, no, there is only one God, or no, it is a goddess, right? We can actually see that there would be feminine and masculine aspects to this energy. Part two. So, as a priestess of the goddess in all her forms, what that really means is that rather than dedicating myself to one particular goddess, I am dedicated to all goddesses in their forms. And again, these aren't separate people as far as I'm concerned. It's one energy, the divine feminine energy, which would have different expressions, right? There would be a goddess of love and a goddess of war and a goddess of the heart and home and a goddess of healing, and right in every culture around the world. And so I honor those different aspects of the goddess in all of her forms in the different ceremonies that I do, as well as in everyday application. So let's look at those different ceremonies. So these ceremonies tend to be more pagan. So pagans really just believe in the power of the elements and honoring nature. And so a lot of these ceremonies are bringing in those types of customs. And so we've got ceremonies for things like naming and welcoming ceremonies for babies, which can be two separate ceremonies, or they can be one. We've got hand fasting, which is nowadays would be looked at as a marriage ceremony. But pagans look at hand fasting as a way of binding themselves to another person for a period of 1 year so that they can see if their love is growing or if that is the end of their love. And then they would do a hand parting to respectfully part ways if they decided to do so. And we also have ceremonies to welcome in new women. So these would be girls that go through their first menstrual cycle. So a menarche ceremony, which would be basically allowing them to honor and celebrate the fact that they have gone into this next phase of their life and moving into this incredible ability to be able to procreate and to shed their lining every month. We also have a beautiful ceremony that is for crones. So this would be women roughly around 50 to 56 years of age is usually when most women start to feel like they're moving into that energy. And again, it's a celebration, right? It's about bringing all of your friends and your family and your colleagues and other people whose lives you have impacted and letting them tell you all about the impact that you have had in their life so that we celebrate your wisdom. Side note, so if you are loving this and you want to check out ceremonies, then please just go ahead and get in touch. So send me a message or go ahead and click the link in my description that will send you over to my priestessing page on my website. Now, part three, we're looking at being a priestess of the goddess in everyday life. How do you apply this to your regular life? So for me, I have a morning ritual, and most priestesses would have some sort of ritual that they do on the daily. And my morning ritual is a combination of things that are very specific to me because they have meaning in my life. But also, on top of being a priestess of the goddess, I'm also a dedicant of Odin, the Norse Allfather. And so he is a god of healing, and I do Reiki. I'm a Reiki master teacher. So that is a really great connection for me to have. And so I do a practice every single day where I charge a Reiki healing grid, and people who have asked for healing, their names are underneath that grid. And so they, in essence, get sent Reiki healing energy all day long, every day that I have their name underneath that grid. So that's something that I do very specific with Odin. There are multiple goddesses in different cultures that also have a healing aspect. And so I do other healing work that is dedicated to them. So I have a few goddesses, they're kind of aspects of the goddess that I really resonate with. And so those are the African goddess Oya, who is the goddess of business, right, and women in the marketplace. And so I go to Oya on a weekly basis. She gets honored on a certain day every week in my ritual to help me with my business. And I've got another goddess, for example, is Hecate, which is also a deep transformational goddess. And so all of the shadow work that I do with other people and with myself is all dedicated to Hecate. I've got several other goddesses as well, just to give you an idea of how I incorporate them into my regular life. And so I do my ritual every single day. And each day there's a different goddess that gets honored. And what that means to me is I light a candle for that specific goddess, but it also means that I spend my day kind of making sure that I am emulating the wisdom of that particular goddess. So, for example, if it's the day that I am honoring Hecate with all of the shadow work, then that's days that I'm going to be posting videos, going live, doing things to help others with their shadow work. Versus if it is a day when I am working with Oya, then I might be posting things on social media to help other people from a business point of view, for example. And of course, when it comes to me, right, then I would be doing the same sort of things. I'd be very focused on my business that day that I am working with Oya, and I'd be very focused on my own shadow work the day that I'm working with Hecate. And that goes the same with all of my goddesses. So being a priestess of the goddess is about representing the goddess in all her forms. And so I do that myself 7 days a week, seven specific goddesses, but each day is basically representative of an expression of the goddess. I hope that you found this video helpful. I would love to hear your feedback. Go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know if you've got any other questions on this. And in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that button and get that done so you never miss another video of mine. Bless.